Hey, welcome to Break the Board. This is John. Sorry, a little technical difficulties there to start. Welcome on this Friday, August 23rd, here as we go through big day tomorrow. Got college football, Florida State at Georgia Tech. We're going to dive into that. Going to dive into some MLB. Want to talk a little NFL. Huge weekend. Obviously, last weekend of the NFL preseason. Not a whole lot of angles. Did have some overs finally come in last night. Kind of want to steer about or past that. Let's look towards the NFL week one. I also want to start getting some feedback. We're in the Circa Survivor this year and the Circa Millions. I want to get your strategies, your thoughts, get you guys kind of giving me some ideas of what strategy you would take if you were in it. So kind of use those. You again, hit that subscribe button at the bottom. You can always follow us on X, but let's get right into it. Again, I talked about the lead off. Florida State, Georgia Tech, going at it in Dublin, Ireland tomorrow. Really excited about this game. Number open 14, went down to 11, 10.5. There's actually a couple 10s starting to pop up. But the interesting thing about this is, if you look, DraftKings right now has Florida State laying 10.5. Still 75% of the tickets on Florida State, only 25% on Georgia Tech. And with that, Georgia Tech still getting 43% of the handle, 57 Florida State. So all the tickets, all the bets, and still the money towards the Florida State side. However, the problem with that is the line keeps going the other way. So we got reverse line movement. That's a big asterisk for me where I'm like, okay, something's going on. On top of that, again, from your power ratings, when you go through every team and you set your own power rankings and you set what the line is, I know the line's a little lower than I had it originally. I had Florida State laying 13 in mine. Was hoping to get the 14. I bet them earlier and got Georgia Tech 14, but I'm still going to give out Georgia Tech plus 11. There's a few out there, or you can lay $1.30 to get it. I like the 11, protects you in a 21-10, 24-13, some kind of scenario like that, 35-24, you're protected. But I'll be honest, I think this game's going to come down to the fourth quarter late. I really like Georgia Tech in this one. Florida State, again, we've talked about, they lost 6 defensive guys to the NFL draft. Jordan Travis is gone. Blackman, the wide receiver, is gone. Now you got DJ Uiagalelei coming in from Oregon State after his coach belted to Michigan State at quarterback, and he's had a very rough spring, very rough spring. The accuracy hasn't been there. We know DJ's got a big arm. Really had a better season at Oregon State last year. I was really impressed. Obviously, his time at Clemson, he came out. He was the big stud, the next guy that was supposed to be the next Watson or Trevor Lawrence and lead Clemson. It just didn't happen. But he had a really nice bounce back year last year. But I don't know if DJ can play at that big of a level, right? But we're definitely going to find out. I love Georgia Tech's quarterback, junior transfer from Texas A&M. Last year he was with Georgia Tech, but before that, Texas A&M. Haynes King last year threw for 2,755 yards, 26 TDs, ran for 648 yards, and another 9 touchdowns there. Again, Coach Brent Key, he's entering his second year for Georgia Tech. They were able to get that bowl win in the Gasparilla Bowl against Central Florida, 30-17. They really look good. Remember that this Georgia Tech team against Georgia, the last game of the year, gave Georgia all they want. I mean, Georgia won that game 31-23, but Georgia Tech had a chance there late. Obviously, we all remember the Mario Cristobal, juggling, bumbling, rumbling, stumbling effort he had there against Georgia Tech. They gave Georgia Tech the opportunity to come back and beat Miami 23-20. But Georgia Tech, in their last 7 versus Florida State, again, they haven't played since 2022, but going all the way back, typically they play Florida State tough. 4-3 straight up against the Seminoles. A couple things here that, when you're looking at props, you might say, I'm not real sure about the game as a whole, right? A lot of people like to look at quarters and halves and totals and all that kind of stuff. But remember, just going back off the plus 11 that I like, Georgia Tech has covered 5 of their last 6 games. That's been good for 3.9 units. If you were just betting that blindly, you got a 59% return on your investment. Again, it's a market, guys. You can't go off what you see with your eyes. The big teams don't cover every game. I just think this is a high price line. This to me has somewhere 3 to 7 point game written all over it. And the plus 11, though you got to pay a little bit of juice, you can get as low as $1.30 right now at MGM. I think that's the way to go, is taking Georgia Tech plus the 11. Again, covered 5 of their last 6 games. On top of that, the first quarter total under, right? First quarter total under in this one. Florida State. Florida State has been under in their last 6 games. The first quarter total under in their last 6 games, they've been plus 6 units for an 85% return on your investment. The over-under for the first quarter is 13. On top of that, Georgia Tech, they've hit the first quarter under in 9 of their last 12. So both of these teams typically first quarter under. Again, Florida State 6 for 6, Georgia Tech 9 of their last 12. Again, accuracy we talked about with DJ Youngale, a really rough spring. Florida State's going to have to try to establish the run in this game early. Last year was the lowest rushing total a Mike Norvell team's had going all the way back to 2016 when they played Memphis. I think this is going to start out slow. I could see Georgia Tech getting an early touchdown, but the under 13 here for your first quarter under, I think is definitely a way to look here where you can get a little bit of value. 10 starters back total for Florida State. Offensive coordinator Alex Atkins suspended the first 3 games for a recruiting violation. So again, a lot of things stacking up against Florida State. I think they're ranked entirely too high to be 10th. I think they finished 3rd at best in the ACC alone. But now you got the offensive coordinator out. You've had a team that's got a rough spring. DJ's going back to the big boy school in the ACC. Florida State lost a lot. They're not that same team that made that deep run last year. And now you got a Georgia Tech team that's on the ascend. So they're ascending. I'm not going to say Florida State's declining and they reload, but I think it's going to take a while to get them going. I don't think that Florida State offense is going to look very good these first couple of weeks. You know, they're going to sputter, but coming out right at the beginning of the season, across the pond, a lot of different things here. I like the under 13. I like the under first half, 27.5. But the main play we're going to give out, that's going to be Georgia Tech plus the 11. So again, Georgia Tech plus the 11 is the way we're going to go there. Looking at some other games, we got Montana State. Man, this thing has just skyrocketed. At one time, it was 8.5. Now Montana State laying 14 at New Mexico. You're over under 54.5. Again, we talk about Bronco Mendenhall coming over from New Mexico. But this New Mexico team, they're just not very good. I don't think you can put a lot of stock there in them. Montana State, second-ranked team in FCS behind the Jackrabbits of South Dakota State. This one's going to be a stay away. Not a lot of opinion can give you here. 14's high. If I had to bet the game, I'll take the home dog. But New Mexico, I just got nothing I can get behind with them for you. So this is a stay away for me. But again, just betting it blindly, I'll take a home dog in their first game in the first game of the season against an FCS school, even though Montana State is really good. Moving on, SMU, this one is now up over 24.5. You can find a couple 24s out there, but SMU laying 24 on the road against Nevada. SMU, 15 returning starters. They were 11-2 last year in the AAC, won the regular season and their championship game. They bring back quarterback Preston Stone, but only 2 starters on that offensive line come back from last year. Transfer Brashard Smith, the running back from Miami, looks to help. SMU, though, 0-3 versus Power 5 programs. So I know, I was a little high on them. I talked about it, but now it's kind of scaring me. Some other people are getting high on SMU for the ACC. I know their first 5-6 games are really, really soft, but I just wonder how they'll be able to handle the step up in competition because, as the stats say, when they get in a game against the big boys, not a good look, even though they did play Oklahoma pretty close last year. Nevada, 12 starters. But listen, this team isn't going to be very good. Last year, 119th was their ranked offensively, and they ranked 115th defensively. Not a whole lot's going to change there. Chuba Purdy battling for the starting quarterback there. He'll get some reps. If you're wondering, is that Brock Purdy's brother? Yes. Have no idea what the family was thinking with Chuba and Brock as their two boys' names, but hey, God bless them. But in this one, SMU laying 24.5. I'm never going to lay a number that big. Again, we always talk about structure and we talk about rules. Like you have to have, okay, you have got to have rules and you have got to have what are my power rankings, and you got to rely on those rankings, right? And you can always assess week to week, how am I looking? I always encourage people, set your lines for every game, right? How you go about it and your information. There's a lot of things, points per game, who's returning, what's the value of each of those things for you. There's so many things that go into it. Again, if you don't have time for that, not a worry. You can go over to breaktheboardsports.com. Got a couple packages there. Right now we have a monthly package for $27.99, or you can just try us out first weekend of college football, or next year or next week when it gets really big, you can try us out for the weekend for only $9.99. See what you like there. What we do, we'll give you all the stats and notes from every game. I go through every game, give you the good, the bad, and the ugly for both teams, and give you an opinion about what we like here at Break the Board Sports from our crew, along with, hey, if you wanted to bet Florida State, for instance, these are some of the reasons why. However, if you want to take Georgia Tech, these are some of the reasons why. It's not a whole lot of jargon. Try to keep it to one paragraph so you guys, again, you guys got jobs, you got stuff going on. You can just read through it, bang, 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 make your own decision. Again, we'll give some guidance there on what we like. You'll have about 5 to 7 plays that we'll give you every weekend. But ultimately, I know people like to bet their own stuff. They don't like following other people's stuff. So we just want to give you the information for you to make the best possible decision so you can make some money. I know this is an entertainment thing, but people like to make money. That's why we're here, right? So going back to the football again, SMU, I'm not going to lay that much, but there's no way I could take Nevada. If it were me, I'll buy the hook, take SMU minus the 24. Again, I'm not a big teaser guy when it comes to college. I'm a huge teaser guy. I'm a huge 7-point teaser guy in the NFL. I'm not a teaser guy in college football. However, if you wanted to dip your toes in the water and you're like, I don't really like a game Saturday, but it's the first day of college football, I'd like to have something on something. Sure. Throw you a little 7-pointer on there. I could see SMU. If you can find a 24, get SMU minus 17 with like a Georgia Tech plus 17.5 or plus 18. That could entice me a lot. But again, got to be very careful. Teasers in college is a losing proposition. But again, just giving you information, you can make the decision yourself. I've just learned the hard way on those. Delaware State at Hawaii will be your nightcap. This one's bounced all around because Delaware State can't seem to get on a bus or on a plane, having all kinds of trouble. Delaware State's going to have a tough time. They're a bottom 5 FCS team. They run into a Hawaii team over there on the island. I always feel like that's a tough place to play, right? It's in Hawaii. Most people never get to go to Hawaii. It's just different. Now you're asking college kids to go across there. Hawaii, 15 returning stars. Braden Shager, starting quarterback, 3,525 yards last year. Led the Mountain West in touchdown passes with 26. 7 starters return on the defense for Hawaii, but the problem is the 4 guys they lost were the whole defensive line. So going to be interesting to see how they repair that defensive line and where they really go with it. But listen, Hawaii's always able to score. Next week, they got a big game. Hawaii doesn't happen for them very often. They get a nationally televised game on CBS. Right now, the look-ahead line on that, Hawaii's catching 13.5 at home against UCLA in prime time against UCLA on national television. And all the steam and all the money, especially because of this Delaware State team and because Delaware State's so awful in getting there, 63% of the bets right now are on Hawaii, laying 80% of the money. So only 37% of the tickets on Delaware State, 20% of the handle on them. listen, to me, you either take the dog or nothing. I can see Hawaii really slowing this thing down. I think there's going to be a little bit of a respect thing where Hawaii doesn't want to run it up. And again, Hawaii knows they're going to beat Delaware State. Question is by how much? Flip side of that is Hawaii's looking ahead to UCLA. I mean, that's a big thing for them. If they could somehow pull off an upset there as a home dog, it really changes the trajectory of Hawaii's season. We know Delaware State's going to be bad. We know they've had all this trouble, but guess what? It's been publicized so much. Every bettor knows it. Everybody's laying up on Hawaii. I'll be a contrarian and say somehow, some way, this clock just bleeds. Remember, there's another thing. The clock's not stopping after every first down anymore, right? So you're going to lose somewhere 4 to 6 plays over the course of the game. That ends up being big, especially when we talk about teams running scores up at the end and stuff like that. So I'll take Delaware State here if I was going to play the game. Not going to play it myself, but if you are, I think that is for sure the way to go. Your over-under is at 56.5. All the money coming in on the over. 80% of the hand, actually just changed 82% of the handle right now going towards the Rainbow Warriors. So in college football, again, we're going to look there. Florida State, Georgia Tech. We're going to grab, it's 10.5, lay the $1.30, grab Georgia Tech plus 11. That's going to be a play. My lean for Montana State and New Mexico. I'm not going to personally play this game. I don't know anybody that I've even talked to that's going to play this game. But if I had to, it's either New Mexico or nothing. SMU, I'm not going to lay over 20 points on the road ever in my life. Used to do that, and I ended up just being broke. But if I had to play the game, I would lay the 24 with SMU. And again, I would take the 40 to 40.5, depends on where you shop for your shoes. I would take Delaware State in that situation. Monday, we're really going to get into breaking down every game of the college football week 1. But just want to touch on some things. That North Carolina-Minnesota game next Thursday, that one has moved a little bit. Minnesota has been hanging as a 2.5-point favored since the line opened. It just went to 3 late last night. North Carolina Tar Heels catching 3 at Minnesota. That Jacksonville State line, it moved tremendously. Jacksonville State was laying 3.5. It's down to 2. A lot of Coastal Carolina money. Now the bets, the tickets, 51% go to Coastal Carolina right now, 49% to Jacksonville State. However, 80% of the handles favored in Coastal Carolina's way. So they're just, it's all Coastal Carolina. The books are definitely going to need Jacksonville State to win that one. North Dakota State at Colorado next Thursday. Obviously, Coach Prime and them. We got them coming into town. And I got to say, Colorado laying 9.5. The line hasn't moved, but all the money continues to flow on the Buffaloes here. They got 77% of the handle, 77% of the ticket count, 82% of the handle against the Bison. Again, with the Bison only catching 18% of the handle, also intrigues me that all that money is going in Colorado and that line's frozen. It hasn't went to 10. That gives me room to pause. I'm really looking into this North Dakota State team this weekend. That's going to be a big thing I dive into. Is I want to make a case for North Dakota State. I know it's on the road. I know everybody's high on Colorado, but Colorado is now a marked team, right? They're not going to sneak up on anybody. Florida Atlantic and Michigan State. Talked about this a little bit on Wednesday's show. Florida Atlantic catching 11.5. I know neither one of these teams are very good, but 92% of the handle Michigan State's way and only 8 Florida Atlantic. Just based on principle, I'm going to have to give out the Owls if it stays that way. Anytime I got a team with less than 20% of the handle and less than 20% of the ticket count, I'm going to go their way, especially, again, that line hasn't moved. When all the money's in one direction like that and the line's not moving, I'll be the contrarian. I'll go the other way. Again, they don't build casinos and sports books off the public winning. Sometimes is the public right? Yep, sometimes they are. But more than not, you got to be a contrarian. Again, you can't bet with your heart. You have to look at the information. Again, I always talk about this. Sports handicapping is so much like Wall Street. It's got very, very little to do with what you see with your eyes. There is some that goes into it, and there is some luck that is needed, but really diving in and following the market, that's the way you're going to win. That's the way you're going to get over 60%, of your picks right and get that return on investment that you're looking for. TCU, that line's finally moved. TCU was 8.5. It's now went to 9.5 at DraftKings at Stanford. Stanford, 35% of the ticket count, but 68% of the handle. Flip that, 65% of the ticket count on TCU, 32% of the handle. So this is absolutely a pros versus Joes. Joe, the laundry guy, working down at the laundromat, he's betting TCU. You're more seasoned, more sharp. We always talk about, pros versus Joes or sharps versus a square. Squares, they're all over TCU. The sharps are back in Stanford. Going to be interesting to see now that that line has moved a whole point, and you're really going to start to see these lines move Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, right? That's when everybody's really going to get ramped up. They're going to be betting. That's what you want to look for. Again, you go over to breaktheboardsports.com. You'll have our packages there. You can try out the first weekend for $9.99, or you can get a subscription for your first month free. All the notes, daily notes on games, our blogs, will give you a handicapping overview for both college and NFL. You can get that for your bi-weekly at only $14.99. Moving on, another one again, 60 UConn at Maryland. Maryland, 61% of the tickets in their favor, but only 15% of the handle. So again, the squares and your Joe Schmoes, they love Maryland. Your pros and your sharps love Connecticut, plus the 20.5. There's some 21s there. If you can get a 21, I think UConn could be some good value. We'll lock that down either Monday or Wednesday to decide really where we're going to go with that. Again, just to go back to the website, plays will always be up and all the notes for the whole weekend on Wednesday. Once that stuff is posted Wednesday afternoon, Thursday by noon Eastern time at the latest, there's not a whole lot more you'll get other than you'll get some blogs first thing on a Saturday or Sunday morning. If anything changes, there's any updates or anything like that. Virginia Tech at Vanderbilt, 70% of the tickets on Virginia Tech, 89% of the handle. Virginia Tech at Vanderbilt, laying 13.5. This is another one. All the money pouring in on the Hokies. All the money, yet the line is frozen. Vanderbilt's not very good. I know Virginia Tech's got like everybody back, 18 returning starters. So the Hokies are definitely the team to win the game. 13.5, though, on the road in Nashville, your first game. Vanderbilt, we know they're not going to win any SEC games, maybe one if they get lucky. They're going to be jacked up for this season opener, so we'll see how that line moves. Georgia against Clemson in the Mercedes-Benz Dome there in Atlanta. Georgia, 13.5-point favored. There's a couple 13s there. There's two 14s offshores I'm looking here, but 78% of the tickets, along with 78% of the handle, is on the Georgia Bulldogs, 22-22 for Clemson. South Dakota State and Oklahoma State. I've been waiting for this to happen. I was patient. It finally happened. South Dakota State has moved from 9.5 to a 10-point dog. I love them here. 14% of the tickets, 13% of the handle. It sets up everybody's on the Cowboys. Plus, I got plus 10 with the best team in the FCS. Remember, Oklahoma State struggles against these lower teams right out the gate. Oklahoma State is going to be right there for the Big 12 championship. I got a couple futures on them to make the college football playoff at 9-1. I thought that was great value, but they always struggle out the gates. And remember, we talked about this last week. Oklahoma State's quarterback situation, that's the key, right? Seventh-year senior, maybe he finally gets it right. We know the running game, best rushing attack in the country. We know that defense. We know Gundy. We know Oklahoma State in Stillwater. But I like South Dakota State week 1 plus 10. But I'm still going to be just a little bit more patient. Don't call it greed. Call it patience. I think I don't have to pay any to get the 10.5. I think it's going to naturally move there. I maybe even get lucky enough to get an 11. That's what I really would like. I got the 10. That's where I set the line. So now it's right there in my power rankings. Even though there's not an edge, I had circled that and I'd said back in July, if I get 10, I'm all over the Jackrabbits. Now I want to be a little bit more patient, see if there's any buyback on South Dakota State, or does this line continue to tick up. But circle that South Dakota State Jackrabbits game. Again, when you go to the website and you sign up, you'll get 5 to 7 plays. But I can tell you right now, if that line stays at 10 or even goes up higher, the Jackrabbits are going to be one of the plays added into that. Florida International, Indiana is another game. They're on the board. Miami at Florida. This line was 2.5. It went to 3. Then all of a sudden it ticked back down to 2.5. Little bit of buyback there on the Florida Gators. Texas laying 33.5 at home against Colorado State. Kind of some wonky stuff here. 64% of the tickets on Texas. However, only 17% of the handle. So everybody loves Texas, but like I questioned, Texas is way better than Colorado State, and they're at home. Not going to deny that. But Texas has a much more important game the following week, week 2 at Michigan, where they're on the look-ahead line. They're a 3.5-point favorite right now. Are they really going to run it up on Colorado State? The other thing is team's first game. A team's first game typically is slow out the gates. College, NFL, look for a lot of first quarter unders, right? It depends on where the line's set. Again, it depends on what teams, but you tend to have these teams start a little slow, get the running game established. They're kind of feeling each other out. Yes, they'll take a shot on the first try, especially if you're home, try to get the crowd into it and all that. But a lot of it is very slow, even putting together, even though they score a touchdown on the first drive, it's one of those slow, methodical 5-6 minute drives. Now you're looking for 1 or 2 stops, and you're going to hit a first quarter under if you find an under 14.5, under 15, somewhere in there. Another game that I'm curious about how the line moves. Boise State, I think they're going to be tremendous. I think they got a chance to be one of those teams that make the college football playoff with 19 returning starters. They are laying Boise State's laying 12.5 at Georgia Southern. They're demanding 76% of the tickets, 87% of the handle going the Broncos' way. So I want to see how that ends up moving itself in the line. Another team I would look at, Sam Houston State and Rice. This was 11.5. It's went back down to 10. A lot of buyback here on Sam Houston State. They only got 36% of the ticket count, but 92% of the handle. As to where if you flip it with Rice, they got 64% of the bets, but only 8% of the handle. Again, wonky stat I saw. What was it that between FanDuel and DraftKings, it was like 74% of the bets are less than $10, right? Which is crazy to me. But it's another reason why, hey, paying a bunch of money for picks, if you're only betting $10 a ticket, money management goes out the window. It's just a mess, right? So that's why we want to set an affordable product to help you win those $10 bets, help you win your $5 bets. Again, you can go over to breaktheboardsports.com, and there is a sale, $14.99 bi-weekly. You get all the notes on every college football game, every NFL football game, and every MLB baseball game. The breakdown goes out every day for those, which we're going to switch to Major League Baseball here in just a minute. Troy in Nevada. Again, they play this week. They host SMU, but they go on the road next week to Troy. Check this out. Troy's getting 77% of the ticket count, as they should. Troy's way better, but only 2% of the handle. Nevada has 23% of the tickets and 98% of the handle. Now, look, I don't know if I can swallow it enough to take Nevada, but if that stays that way, it really forces your hand to maybe step out there. Same thing consequently. Remember, we talked about UCLA and Hawaii. We talked about Hawaii taking their foot off the gas because that game's going to be on CBS, nationally televised. Those kind of games don't happen for Hawaii very often. They're kind of like, remember the old school Pac-12 games used to be late night. But UCLA, 58% of the tickets. Hawaii, 42% of the tickets. About even, nothing there to write home about. But not only does UCLA have 58% of the tickets, they only got 8% of the handle. So again, this is all the squares are on UCLA, all the sharps are on Hawaii. It'll be interesting to see how that moves for me. If I could get a 14 and a half, 14 and a half, I would take Hawaii all day long. 14, I'd buy the hook. If it's 13 and a half, I might be out on that. I got to get 2 touchdowns. But if I can get 2 touchdowns at home over there on the island, I'll take the Rainbow Warriors there of Hawaii. Fresno State and Michigan, we talked about that one a little bit. Another line that's moved, Texas A&M was 2.5-point favored, 2 points in some places. It's finally went to 3 at both DraftKings, FanDuel, Caesars. They all got at 3, which is astonishing considering this line opened up Notre Dame. The first time I saw it, Notre Dame was a 1.5-point favorite. And I thought it would go the other way. I thought everybody would be betting Notre Dame. Hasn't happened that way, and the ticket count split pretty well. So I don't know how much more that's going to move. You would think the public would be more Notre Dame. Me, I'm a Notre Dame guy, but I think that's the toughest game of the year for Notre Dame. I think that's really going to be a tough ask for them to go through that and win that game. But we'll see what happens there in that one. The other game, looking at real quick before we switch gears, LSU at USC, not at USC, it's at Allegiant Stadium. They're in Las Vegas. LSU laying 4.5. This line was at 6. It opened up 5 was the first line I saw. Could have been different, but 5 is what I saw. 87% of the bets are on LSU, 77% of the handle, but yet the line went from 6 down to 4.5. I circled that game just because that, typically it should go the other way. So want to see how that moves, see where the money goes. Obviously, I think LSU is a much better team, but we know how Brian Kelly and LSU, they have these wonky games to start out the year. They cost us big time 2 years ago when we had them there against Florida State on opening day, missing all those daggone field goals. Couple look-ahead games the following week. Again, we mentioned Texas at Michigan. Texas laying 3.5. Colorado is going to be a 7-point underdog at Nebraska right now. Tennessee and NC State hook up. Tennessee laying 4.5. And then 2 weeks is where it really starts to get good. You got that Alabama at Wisconsin. Alabama laying 9. That'll be a really good game. Really excited to see that one. So college football again. Georgia Tech, the Ramblin' Wreck of Georgia Tech is going to be your play for college football this weekend. Again, there's some good trends for the unders and all that, but we're going to go with the Ramblin' Wreck. That's going to be our first play we give out in college football this year for you guys. What I'll try to do on the show, try to give out 1, maybe 2 plays, just opinions. But again, the other 5 to 7, they will be there at breaktheboardsports.com. Moving over to baseball, the Cincinnati Reds will visit the Pittsburgh Pirates tonight. Pirates minus 110, minus 105 is the Reds. You got Brady Falter on the bump for Pittsburgh, or Bailey Falter rather, 2-3 in his last 5 with a 4.74 ERA. Pirates have taken 7 of the last 3 against the Cincinnati Reds overall. No real opinion in this one. This is 2 dead teams. If I had to lean the game, I would probably take the Pirates as a short favorite here. Houston Astros, they'll battle the Baltimore Orioles. Astros have taken 7 of the last 10 against the Orioles. Orioles are going to throw out Cade Povich, the southpaw, 1-4 with a 7.36. He has just really, really struggled, man. In Baltimore, yesterday, for whatever reason, they were favored with Corbin Burns, and I'm not real sure why Corbin Burns, to be quite honest with you, why he is still in the Cy Young conversation. I don't think he's pitched well. I get the ERA and all that, but the Orioles were scoring a lot of runs. It's easy when you're pitching ahead. That Orioles team, both the Orioles and Yankees, both of those teams have just came to a screeching halt. Yankees did get the win yesterday, but Hunter Brown, 11-7 overall, 3.82 ERA. When I look at this, there's absolutely no way. I mean, the Astros are laying minus 115 on the road. Orioles is even money. to me, you got to go Astros or nothing. I've talked about this. I think the Astros, you can still find them some 6-7-1 still out there in one spot to win the American League. I would take that all day long. It's not going to be the Yankees. It's not going to be the Orioles. You're either going to have a Guardians, Twins, Astros, some kind of that combination that gets there for you. Next game on the board, speaking of the Yankees, Kyle Freeland and the Rockies visit Carlos Rodon and the Yankees. Yankees are up to minus 295. No way, no how that I'm doing that. Over under 8.5. Freeland 3-5 with a 5.97 ERA. Carlos Rodon goes 13-8 with a 4.34 ERA. The problem with Rondon is all that came early for him. His last 5 starts have not been very good. They have not been very clean for Rodon with a 4.89 ERA. Actually, Colorado's taken 6 of the last 10 here against the Yankees. Just there's no way I can lay $3 with New York right now. New York, you can't lay $3 with them. So I'm going to take a pass on this game. If I was going to do anything, the over 8.5 with these two southpaws, I mean, they'll throw some taters. So to me, the over would be something to look at here. Again, I'm not an over-under player. I'll give stats and opinions on it, but just not something that I'm going to go to the well on. LA Angels at the Toronto Blue Jays. Blue Jays have taken the last 8 of the last 10. Angels are going to put out Jack Kakanowitz. Yeah, I know I butchered that. 1-3 with a 6.53 ERA. Chris Bassett, who is just, man, that guy used to be so good, with the A's, with the Mets. With Toronto, it's been an absolute just disaster. 1-4 with a 7.2 ERA. And yet still, the Toronto Blue Jays are minus $2. Your over-under is 9. Juice minus 125 to the under. To me, if you're going to play this game, I got no opinion. I'll have no wager, but you either take the Angels plus 170 and the over 9. I don't see any other way you can go but those two ways with these two teams. I mean, they're just not good. Arizona Diamondbacks at the Boston Red Sox today. Boston minus 130 on the money line, plus 115 on the comeback. For the D-backs, your over-under set at 9.5. Juice minus 115 to the over. Boston has taken 7 of the last 10 matchups against the Diamondbacks. Last year, they had a 3-game set. Boston was in Arizona. Boston took the first 2 of that set. Pitchers Ryan Nelson for the D-backs. I really like the D-backs to make another run. Again, this team was in the World Series last year. They're playing really good baseball. Ryan Nelson 4-1 with a 3.13 ERA, but Brayan Bello has been lights out for Boston in his last 5 also. 5-0 with a 3.21 ERA. To me, man, it's just tough here to lean either side. I don't want to step in front of Nelson and the D-backs. Boston's kind of dead, but Bello, when a guy's 5-0 with a 3 ERA in his last 5, I don't exactly want to hop out in front of that tank either. So, again, not going to be a play here for me, but the over-under 9.5. The under 9.5, the way these two pitchers are pitching, you got about a 3-run fluff there if you look at their ERA in their last 5 starts. It's going to come down to the bullpens. What you hope here is, can both pitchers get you out of the 6th inning? If that happens, you got a shot. If one of them starts to get beat up and they pull it, the longer you can stay away from a bullpen in baseball, as we all know, the better off you're going to be because baseball, man, it can get away from you quick. Cleveland Guardians at the Texas Rangers today. Tanner Bibby against Nathan Eovaldi. Guardians minus 135, plus 115 on the comeback for the Rangers. Rangers, they're obviously done and out of it. You're over under 7.5. Cleveland's taken 7 of the last 10 head-to-head in these matchups. Eovaldi in his last 5 starts is 2-3 with a 5.14. Bibby, he's got a sub-3 ERA. So here I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play the Guardians again, a team that's got Minnesota still in their sights, or that Minnesota's got them in their sights, rather. Guardians still need to win games. They're still alive to possibly get that 1 seed. So I'm going to take Cleveland here, minus $1.30. There's actually a couple of minus $1.35s out there now. So if you're going to take them early. I think the longer this goes, if you like the Guardians, the juice is only going to get higher. And anytime you can minimize juice, you definitely want to do that. Cubs and the Miami Marlins today. Kyle Hendricks will go against Mike Meyer. Hendricks and the Cubs minus $1.20, plus 105 on the comeback for the Marlins. Marlins have taken 6 of the last 10. Max Meyer's 2-3 with an 8.10 ERA. I want no parts of that. Again, Miami's just a dead team. They have nothing to offer at this point in time. Hendricks, he started off rough. It's gotten a little better. One time he had an over 11 ERA, 3-10 with a 6.35. The Marlins have been hitting the baseball, but here it's either Cubs or nothing. Again, both of these teams are done. They'll be home in October. But if I had to, I would take the Cubs. But again, this one's going to be a no play for me. Washington Nationals at the Atlanta Braves. Mackenzie Gore, the southpaw, will go against the southpaw of the Braves, Chris Sale, who I think should win the NL Cy Young. Sale 14-3 with a 2.62 ERA. Mackenzie Gore 7-11 with a 4.66 ERA. The Braves are going to be minus 270, plus 220 on the comeback for the Nats. Your over-under is 7.5. I can't get down with laying almost $3, regardless who it is there. So we're not going to put a play on this game. But I will say I'm a little intrigued. The Nats have beat the Braves 7 of the last 10 meetings, and they've won 3 in a row. That was a home series at Washington back in June. So I mean that's kind of crazy when you think about the Nats. They've had the Braves number, but I'm not going to step in front of Sale. Again, if you're going to do anything, you would maybe roll a little pizza money on the dog here, but it's going to be a stay away. Philadelphia Phillies at the Kansas City Royals. Royals actually are the favorite here, minus $1.40, plus 120 on the comeback for the Phillies. Michael Waka on the hill for the Royals. Tawan Walker goes for the Philadelphia Phillies here. Your over-under is set at 9.5. Philadelphia taking 6 of the last 10 in this meeting, but Waka's been lights out, 4-1 with a 2.64 ERA. You guys know how much I love the Phillies. Not going to have a play on this one, but I would lean towards the Kansas City Royals. They're really tough at home, and Waka has pitched really well. St. Louis Cardinals will visit the Minnesota Twins. Twins minus $1.45, plus 125 comeback on the St. Louis Cardinals. Cardinals will send out Andre Palante, the right-hander, 1-4 with a 3.81. His last 5 starts. David Festa driving the Fiesta, 2-3 with a 4.63 ERA. Twins have been hitting the ball. St. Louis just came off a very tough and grueling series against the Milwaukee Brewers. Again, St. Louis, they're out of contention, right? They don't have any chance of getting this thing in. But they did steal 2 in a row from Milwaukee. I have a bunch of futures on St. Louis just to make the playoffs. I'm just waiting to burn those any day when I'm having a bad day, because I don't think those are cashing. However, I will say here, for Festa to be minus $1.45, that's too much. So I'm going to take a shot here. I'm going to take the Cardinals plus 125. Your over-under is 8.5. I'm going to leave that alone. But the second of the 2 baseball plays, again, I like the Guardians today. I like the Astros today, and I like the Cardinals. I really like the Guardians, and the Cardinals. I would say would be my second. Astros would be my third in line, just because there is a part in the back of my head that I do get scared about the Orioles making that run and getting back to where they were. Just haven't seen it. New York Mets with Paul Blackburn will go against Joe Musgrove and the Padres. Padres minus 135, plus 115 on the comeback for the Mets. Mets really gave it to the Padres last night, 8-1. beat them there. The Mets have now taken 7 of the last 10 against the San Diego Padres. Mets still hanging around the wild card. Padres, they're going to make it. It's just a matter of can they catch the Dodgers or not. But the Padres have very little margin for error as time is now on their side with about a month left in the baseball season. Paul Blackburn, 2-2 with a 4.33 ERA his last 5 starts. Musgrove got beat up early, but now he's starting to get back to that guy that was dominant in his last 5 starts, 3-2 with a 1.96 ERA. So I'm going to put a double unit play on the San Diego Padres and ride them. I like what they have to offer with Musgrove, so we're going to follow them today. Seattle and San Francisco. Seattle laying $1.55 now. That went from $1.35 to $1.55. Luis Castillo against Birdsong here for the Giants. Giants have taken 6 of the last 10 against San Francisco. In his last 5, Castillo 2-3 with a 3.38 ERA. Hasn't been the Luis Castillo of old, but has pitched okay. I'll say that. He hasn't been, again, nothing to write home about. Birdsong 3-3 with a 5.01 ERA for the season. This one's going to be a stay away. There's nothing here that interests me, so I'm going to stay away from that. Milwaukee Brewers at the Oakland A's on the season. Aaron Savale, the right-hander, 4-8 with a 4.78 ERA. J.P. Sears, the southpaw, 10-8 with a 4.15 ERA. Brewers laying minus 125 after they dropped the last 2 in the series against the Cardinals. Comeback plus 105 on the Athletics there at home as the games in the Coliseum start to wind down. As this will be their last year there in Oakland. The A's have actually taken 6 of the last 10 against the Oakland against the Milwaukee Brewers, rather. But I'm going to take Savali and the Brewers here, minus the 125 on the road. They're just a way better baseball team. I know the Brewers are going to start coasting at some point in time here because they got the Central all but locked up. Los Angeles Dodgers minus 220 plus 190 on the comeback for the Rays. These 2 teams have split their last 10. Bobby Miller, those on the hill for the Dodgers, 2-3 with a 9.41 in his last 5 starts, has been less than lackluster for sure. Alexander 5-3 with a 5.17 ERA. When I look at this one, I just can't bring myself. The Dodgers, you're laying these big prices all the time. To me, it's either Rays or nothing, but I'm just going to go nothing here. There's no reason to push and force a bet. So again, we're going to rank them out today. Padres minus 135 is going to be the top. Guardians minus 135. Coming in the 3rd slot, Cardinals plus 125. Coming in the 4th slot, the Brewers minus 125. And coming in the last spot, the Astros minus 115. Those are the 5 I like with a double unit on the Padres. And we'll go double unit on the Guardians. So double unit Padres and Guardians for today's plays is what we'll be looking at on the diamond today. Again, for football, breaktheboardsports.com. You can get everything for the NFL season, $9.99 for a Saturday, Sunday. You get all the plays, or you can go $14.99 for the bi-weekly. You get all the notes, plus and minus, regardless which way you want to play it. So again, if you had Florida State, Georgia Tech, that'll be released today. You'll get the notes from both sides, which way you'd want to go, and then you can pick. Looking ahead to week 1, something I really want to get into is this year we have the Circa Million and Circa Survivor, and I want to get you guys to tag along in this. Not everybody can go. It's $1,000 per entry. Not everybody can go and do this. Last year, did with a couple guys, did not have the greatest of showing, made it pretty deep, and then it was the Miami Dolphins that got me last year, if I remember correctly. There late in the season. But every week you get to pick a team. And then after that team, once you use them, you can't use them again. So looking at this year, week one, just kind of wanted to roll through. And again, you can follow on X, give me your opinions, or here on YouTube. Ravens at Chiefs on Thursday night. I'm not interested in using that for a survivor pick, but I will say I don't know how you can go wrong taking the Chiefs on the money line there, minus 150. I'm a big believer that the Ravens missed the playoffs this year. I don't like what they have. I don't like, Lamar Jackson. It's up one year, down the next. It's been that way his whole career. But for survivor purposes, you got Ravens, Chiefs, not interested in that. Packers, Eagles, I'm not interested in that. Titans, Bears. I know a lot of people are going to be all over the Bears. I can't take a rookie quarterback in week one, though. I would feel like a total square if I went that way. Steelers, Falcons, nothing that intrigues me there. Jaguars at the Dolphins, nothing that intrigues me there. The one that obviously is the one that sticks out like a sore thumb is to take the Bengals at home against the Patriots. Everybody knows Patriots probably going to be the worst team in the league. And the Bengals, obviously, they're my pick for the AFC. As long as Joe Burrow stays healthy is the disclaimer I put on that. But just looking at it, I just don't want to be a square and get knocked out week one. That's a tough swallow. And I'll just tell you right now, I would say 80% of the people are going to be on the Bengals week one. So I just wonder, being a little bit of a contrarian, right, and just avoiding that altogether. But again, give me your opinions. If you think I should take the Dolphins or the Jags, please message on X, message us here, click that subscribe, give me your reason why, and tell me why we should take the Dolphins, or why we should take the Falcons at home or the Steelers. Definitely want to take you guys. Could we just kind of have fun with it? Texans and Colts, nothing that interests me there. I want to see how both these teams are, because I remember Trevor Lawrence had a really good year as a rookie, like CJ Stroud did, and then we saw the regression a little bit from Lawrence last year. I wonder if CJ Stroud regresses this year. Now, they're a really good team, really good talent. Love D'Amico Ryans, but now you're adding Stephon Diggs to that, and that can be a great thing, but Stephon Diggs can also be a bad thing, as we have seen before. And then for the Colts, Anthony Richardson, I don't know how accurate he can truly be and how he can get you down the rest of the year. So I want to look at that and be like, okay, I got to see on the Colts, right? The Colts could be a 10, 11-win team. Wouldn't surprise me. They could be a 6-win team. That wouldn't surprise me either. So I want to see how those kind of, unfold before I really want to hop behind either one of those teams, both in a betting situation with the spread or in a Circus Survivor situation. Vikings, Giants, part of me really wants to take the Giants, because I feel like if the Giants don't win this game, I don't know how many opportunities they're going to have. Like, I think O'Connell, Kevin O'Connell of the Vikings, he can have a bad year and his job's still safe. Brian Daboll, I think there could be people calling for his job by week 8. Like, he could be the first coach, which is crazy to think, right? But listen, them signing Daniel Jones has really boxed that franchise in. And I said it when it happened. Everybody's like, well, who we have, if we don't sign him, who would we get a quarterback? It doesn't matter. You need to draft a quarterback every year. I talk about this. I'm going to talk about it endlessly. If you don't have a quarterback that is a Pat Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, you need to be drafting one every single year, right? You can't be giving all this money to the Brock Purdy's, Dak Prescott's, Daniel Jones, Jalen Hurts. These guys aren't Super Bowl quarterbacks, man. Like, if the Philly, they're my pick to get there, but it's not as much Hurts as the team's just loaded, right? Like, the team is loaded. It has nothing to do with Hurts. Hurts just has to not screw it up, right? So the Giants, I was looking at them here, but I mean, I don't know. Saints and Bengals are the two teams. Again, Bengals, I'm just scared because I know 80% of the people are going to be on them, and they should beat the Patriots, but, I don't really want to sweat. But the Saints at home to beat the Panthers, that's another one I have marked down here about taking the Saints week 1. Carolina, I haven't saw Bryce Young at all. That franchise is a mess. I mean, if the Saints can't win at home, I've heard Derek Carr come out and be like, hey, they're light years ahead of where they were last year. The Saints got a lot of talent. They should be able to get a win week 1 there against Carolina. Arizona at Buffalo. I had some people say, a couple buddies I was on, it was like, yeah, Buffalo's going to roll Arizona. I was like, yeah, that's what everybody thought week 1 last year, Cardinals and Redskins. Look what happened there. And on top of it, I think Kyler Murray has a chance to be comeback player of the year. Like, I think the Cardinals could sneakingly health again. All these predictions and all that's based on health. But I really like the Cardinals. I know their defense is less than to be desired, but John Gann will get them straight. The Cardinals here, I like them +7 against Buffalo week 1. Want to do a little bit more work on that, but I don't want to step Buffalo. I don't know. Buffalo's got huge question marks for me. I'm not really ready to hop out there and be like, oh, the Buffalo Bills. I mean, this team's going to take a huge step back. I feel like they're going to finish 3rd in that division behind the Jets and the Dolphins. I feel like they're going to miss the playoffs. So that being said, I don't want to go out there and throw a survivor pick on them week 1. Raiders, Chargers, I want nothing to do with that game because I don't know what either one of those teams are. I know Harbaugh will get the Chargers turned around. I know he'll get them in the right direction because everywhere he's been, he's won. You guys have heard that over and over. But I never know what I'm going to get from the Raiders. Never know. And I definitely don't want to play a division game in a survivor situation if I can avoid it. Broncos at the Seahawks. I want no parts of that other than now Denver +5 against the spread is starting to really intrigue me. Dallas, Cleveland. One rule I have about Survivor, and I need to try to stay a hold of that rule as much as possible, is you can't take road teams, right? You can't take road teams. So I want no parts of that there, though. Dallas, I mean, Cleveland's, I just don't know where Cleveland, this whole Deshaun Watson, Jameis Winston, I just don't know where they're going to get points from, right? Like, they have weapons, but I can't see it with the Browns. I think the Browns finished 3rd or 4th. It's funny. Browns and Ravens made the playoffs. We're top 2. I think it flips this year. I think Ravens, Browns, I don't know what order, but I think they finished 3rd and 4th in the North this year, and they both miss out on the playoffs. Commanders and Buccaneers, nothing there that intrigues me. Lions, Rams, I don't want any parts of that. Jets, Niners, I don't want any parts of that. So unless you guys got some feedback you want to give, I'm all ears, but I'd like to get a poll week 1. Is it Bengals, Patriots, or Saints, Panthers? Which way to go there on Survivor? As far as Circa Millions, you get 5 games against the spread. Now, those go based off of the odds at the Circa. You get 5 against the spread. It totals it up every week on that. So just looking at that real quick, you have to go off the lines that Circa has. So if I'm looking at that, Chiefs -2.5 right now, the line, if that holds, I would take the Chiefs minus the 2.5. The Steelers +2.5 at the Falcons was another one I was looking at. The Saints -4 was another one I was looking at. The Cardinals right now at circa 6.5. That's another one I was looking at. And then another game that crossed my mind was the Cowboys +2.5, the Rams +3.5. Those are the games I'm looking at. So I got 6. I need to trim it down to 5. Again, if there's something else that you see better that you like, please shoot it on X. Follow us. I'm going to put a post up. Hey, what's your 5 Circa Million games to start week 1? And run a poll up there. At Break the Board Sports 64 is the Twitter handle. Again, click subscribe here on YouTube. You can always find our clips and always find our shows will be here if you didn't catch the live version that you can break down. Hopefully get a good friend on the show of mine next week, Ken Thompson, another friend, Kenny Kelly. We're going to have AJ Soldo, one of our cappers here. He's going to come in, talk a little football with us, get ready for the college football season. Really, really excited. Again, go to breaktheboardsports.com. Check out the packages. Follow us on X. Follow us on YouTube. You also have us on TikTok. Any information, you can always email us. Go to the website there, breaktheboardsports.com. You guys, it's here, college football. Let's bet it. Let's get it going. Let's make money. Remember, betting games isn't the fun part. Making a profit's the fun part. And to do that, you got to have rules. You got to be disciplined. I know we have these phones in our hands. Once you put your bets in, let them go. Don't be like playing around, chasing, and putting in bad bets. Stay disciplined, stay on point, and stay safe. God bless. I'll talk to you guys Monday, 9:30 Eastern Time.